Module 5. Planning and Managing Operations. Demand forecasting, value chain, and supply chain management. Demand forecasting is the process in which historical sales data is used to develop an estimate of unexpected forecast of customer demand. It is provide an estimate of the amount of goods and services that each customer will purchase in the foreseeable future. Types of demand forecasting. Passive demand forecasting is carried out for stable businesses with very conservative growth plans. Simple extrapolation of historical data is carried out with minimal assumptions. Active demand forecasting is carried out of scaling and diversifying businesses with aggressive growth plans in terms of marketing activities, product portfolio expansion, and consideration of competitor activities and external economic environment. Short-term demand forecasting is carried out for a shorter term period of 3 months to 12 months. In the short term, the seasonal pattern of demand and effect of tactical decisions on the customer demand are taken into consideration. Medium to long-term demand forecasting is typically carried out for more than 12 months to 24 months in advance. Long-term forecasting provides the business strategy planning, sales and marketing planning, financial planning, capacity planning, capital expenditure, etc. External macro-level demand forecasting. Type of forecasting deals with the broader market movements which depend on the macroeconomic environment. Internal business level demand forecasting. This type of forecasting deals with internal operation of business such as product category, sales division, financial division, and manufacturing group. Importance of demand forecasting. First, demand forecasting is the pivotal business process around which strategic and operational plans of a company are devised. Second, strategic and long-range plans of a business are formulated. And last, facilitates important management activities. Demand forecasting methods. Qualitative methods. The Delphi technique. A panel of experts are appointed to produce a demand forecast. Sales force opinion. The sales manager asks for inputs of expected demand from each salesperson in their team. Market research. Customer-specific surveys are deployed to generate potential demand. Quantitative methods. Trend projection method. Historical data generates a time series which represent the past sales and projected demand for a specific product category under normal condition by a graphical plotting method or the least square method. Barometric technique. Forecaster deploys statistical analysis like leading series, concurrent series, or lagging series to generate the demand forecasting. Econometric forecasting technique. Econometric forecasting utilizes autoregressive, integrated moving average, and complex mathematical equations to establish relationship between demand and factors that influence the demand. What is value chain? A business model that describes the full range of activities needed to create a product or service. For companies that produce goods, a value chain comprises the steps that involve bringing a product from conception to distribution and everything in between. The two importance of value chain. First, a company conducts a value chain analysis by evaluating the detailed procedures involved in each step of its business. And last, the purpose of value chain analysis is to increase production efficiency so that a company may deliver maximum value for the least possible cost. Components of value chain. Primary activities consist of 5 components, and all are essential for adding value and creating a competitive advantage. Inbound logistics function like receiving, warehousing, and managing inventory. Operations procedures for converting raw materials into finished product. Outbound logistics activities to distribute a final product to a consumer. Marketing and sales strategies to enhance visibility and target appropriate customers. Service programs to maintain products and enhance consumer. The role of support activities is to help make the primary activities more efficient. When you increase the efficiency of any of the 4 support activities, it benefits at least one of the 5 primary activities. These support activities are generally denoted as overhead costs on a company's income statement. Procurement. How a company obtains raw materials. Technological development. Use at a firm's research and development (R&D). Human resources management. Hiring and retaining employees who will fulfill business strategy and help design, market, and sell the product. Infrastructure. Company systems and composition of its management team. Supply chain management. Management of the flow of goods and services and includes all processes that transform raw materials into final product. It involves the active streamlining of a business's supply-side activities to maximize customer value to gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. How supply chain management works. By managing the supply chain, companies are able to cut excess costs and deliver products to the consumer faster. This is done by keeping tighter control of internal inventories, internal production, distribution, sales, and the inventories of company vendors. Aspect of the supply chain, the plan or strategy, the source, manufacturing, delivery and logistics, the return system. Purchasing, vendor selection, and material management. Purchasing is the act of buying the goods and services that a company needs to operate and or manufacture products. Purchasing is now seen as more of a strategic function that can be used to control bottom line cost. Companies are also seeking to improve purchasing processes as a means of improving customer satisfaction. The traditional purchasing process. The traditional purchasing process involves several steps: requisitions, soliciting bids, purchase order, shipping advice, invoice, and payment unacceptably slow, expensive, and labor-intensive. It was focused on getting the right quantity and quality of goods to the right place at the right time at the decent cost. Total cost of ownership. Instead of buying the good or service that has the lowest price, the buyer instead weighs a series of additional factors when determining what the true cost of the good or service is to his or her company. Total cost of ownership calls for closer attention to what else should be counted in addition to price. Categories include freight, warranty requirements, financing costs, tooling requirements, storage or inventory cost, disposal cost. Strategic sourcing. Strategic sourcing is one of the key methods that purchasing departments are using to lower cost and improve quality. Strategic sourcing involves analyzing what products that company buys in the highest volume, reviewing the marketplace for those products, understanding the economics and usage of the supplier of those products, developing a procurement strategy, and establishing working relationships with the supplier that are much more integrated than such relationships were in the past. Empowering teams. One is creating cross-functional teams that involve purchasing personnel in every stage of the product design process. These teams have broken down barriers and helped abolish the old manufacturing method that was known as the over-the-wall method of production. Each business unit would work on a project until its portion of the job was completed. Just-in-time purchasing. Traditional purchasing meant building a supplier list over time by constantly adding new suppliers, spreading purchases around, and maintaining higher inventory levels in case demand for a product soared or quality from a supplier dipped suddenly. Just-in-time purchasing demands that buyer narrow need supplier list to a chosen few who can deliver high-quality products on demand and in timely fashion. Purchasing cards. One popular method is recent year is to supply selected employees with purchasing or corporate procurement cards. The cards are similar to credit cards. In fact, the big three credit card companies, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, are among the leaders in purchasing cards. In most cases, the cards are used to purchase small business items. The most important advantage is that the vendor receives payment much more quickly than in the past. Vendor selection is a subsidiary process that allows clearly studying, defining, and approving those vendors which met requirements of the procurement process. Hiring a vendor has several advantages. It can reduce operational costs, enhance working conditions, improve responsiveness, and save significant money. While outsourcing to a vendor may be necessary, there are also times when it is not wise to do so. 5 Phase of vendor selection process. Phase 1. Pre-solicitation planning. During this process, you will determine whether products or services will be produced within the organization or outsourced to a vendor. This is the time to use the market research that you have conducted. Once you have determined that you are going to hire a vendor, a request for proposal will be dropped. The purpose of a request for proposal is to detail the buyer's requirements to ask or solicit proposals, and to detail how the procurement team will evaluate and negotiate a future contract. Phase 2. Vendor selection. Once you have responses to your request for proposal, it is time to go through each submission and select a vendor. Some key areas to examine are the financial stability of the organization, the length of time in business, recommendation from similar organization, and the truthfulness of the organization. Phase 3. Award contract. Once you have determined which vendor you would like to use, it's time to award the contract. The first thing to do when speaking with your vendor is to make sure you have clearly detailed your expectations. Phase 4. Contract management. Before the vendor gets started on the project, create a statement of work. Both the internal and external project managers should have a current project plan. This will allow for better monitoring and control. It also helps each manager to assist in moving the project forward. Benchmark can be used to compare the present project. Phase 5. Contract closure. Contract closeout can only take place after both the vendor and the buyer have fulfilled the contract. Contract closeout should involve the following steps. Verify the contract has been fulfilled. Look for documentation that gives evidence contract requirements have been delivered. Collect documentation and evaluation reports. In most cases, these reports have already been established by the organization as part of the monitoring and controlling process. We want to make sure all of those evaluations reports indicate a completion of the contract. Verify all contract requirements have been fulfilled. It is very important to make sure that the vendor has not intentionally or unintentionally left something out. Make final payment to vendor. You are accountable to make sure the vendor has received the proper payment. Prepare contract closure document. This document is used to review the contents of the contract to give a summary of what has taken place in the fulfillment by the vendor of this contract. Material management. An approach for planning, organizing, and controlling all those activities principally concerned with the flow of materials into an organization. It is a business function for planning, purchasing, moving, storing material in an optimum way, which help organization to minimize the various costs like inventory, purchasing, material handling, and distribution costs. The fundamental objectives of the materials management function, often called the famous 5 R's of materials management, are acquisitions of materials and services. First, of the right quality. Second, in the right quantity. Third, at the right time. Fourth, from the right source. And lastly, at the right price. The key objectives of materials management are to buy at the lowest price, consistent with desired quality and service, to maintain a high inventory turnover, to maintain continuity of supply, to maintain the specified material quality level and the consistency of quality. This permits efficient and effective operation. To develop reliable alternate sources of supply to promote a competitive atmosphere in performance and pricing. To minimize the overall cost of acquisition by improving the efficiency of operation and procedures. To hire, develop, motivate, and train personnel, and to provide a reservoir of talent. To develop and maintain good supplier relationships. To achieve a high degree of cooperation and coordination with user departments. To maintain good records and control that provides an audit trail and ensure efficiency and honesty. To participate in make or buy decision material management, must partner with production, accounting, and IT, and take the lead role in presenting key material management data that shows waste in the following areas: inventory, overproduction, defective material, material weight or queue time, overprocessing, under or overutilized asset, and unnecessary movement. Material management can no longer just process the tasks involving material flow, but lead the others to see the waste in these tasks so they can be improved.